Hello and welcome to another episode of Speculative Speculations. I'm Varsha.
Carl.
I'm Dan.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jared.
This is a series where we talk about speculative stories in all their forms. We are continuing our discussion of Klara and the Sun. Today, as usual, we are working our way through the book approximately 100 pages at a time, but we like to find good stopping points. So today's section was, I think, just shy of 80 pages or so. Next week, we're going to be talking about part 4. Today's discussion was part 3 of the book that's divided into 4 parts. We stopped after the hike that the mother took Klara to last week, and we pick up from there, and they're about to go on another trip. That's where we left off. So, yeah, some sinister revelations may have happened in this one. Some creepy dudes that have been taking pictures of Josie, which I have a theory about. I want to know if everybody else has the same theory. But yeah, where do you guys want to start?
Beginning, mayhap.
Yeah. I don't remember what happened at the beginning.
Well, right off the bat, we have this beautiful reference to Klara was saying she was hoping that the shadows of Morgan's Falls trip would be gone by the next morning. And I like that direct reference to the shadows being their mood, obviously, and how strange of a trip that was, and how it ended, and how she and probably she imagines mother felt about it. But also, of course, it directly relates to she wanted them gone by the next morning, hoping the sun would relieve the shadows that they feel. And I like that direct correlation to the sun and the shadow and everything like that. It was like just the very first line, and I just thought that was a perfect line to begin with.
That's a great observation. I definitely understood the emotional reality, but I didn't stop to really appreciate the intellect and the symbolism. I mean, just the absolute craftsmanship of very well that line. That's excellent stuff. I mean, I guess I'll start just by saying that this book continues to tug on my heartstrings, and I am so invested. It took all my willpower to not read on like a certain somebody, and to just hold back, because it is so good, and I want to know what happens on this trip. I can only imagine. I mean, we're getting both moms and both kids and Klara in one car for an extended drive. This is not going to end well, and I can't wait. I found this particularly moving. It also was fun finding out how all of y'all's theories and interpretations were right, and my reading comprehension levels are, unbeaten. It really was impressive how much I was missing with that. But Ricky's definitely, not had some sort of intelligence boost. Melania is a human being, and I forget what the other thing is. I messed up. And then the sister probably died from her surgery, so having some weird impact on her. So hats off to you all. I wouldn't be here without you. Couldn't do without you. This is a team sport, so thank you very much.
I mean, did the sister die from the surgery? Wasn't there some weird thing that the mother of the boy saw? Right?
Yeah, yes. She might be alive. We just learned that.
True. Yes.
Did she die?
But can I do my creepy theory now? Can I do it?
Sure. Go for it.
Okay, so you know how the mother wanted Klara to demonstrate that she could behave like Josie, right? And Clara's been getting a lot of pictures taken for a portrait, and the guy seems shady as fuck. I think that what the guy is going to do is maybe create an artificial friend who will look like Josie as well as behave like her. And maybe that's what the mother saw, an artificial friend who looks like Sal, is it? The sister's name?
Yes, yeah.
But why is she hiding? Why is she hiding the person? Or if she is not dead, why is she hiding? Like, I don't know. But Either way, or maybe she was trying to escape and the mother was trying to make her hide again. I don't know. But that's my theory on what the mother saw and what is going on with Josie. She's creating a very creepy backup plan.
That's
That's
wild.
all.
I love it. I think that's a great theory. I mean, the pieces fit together, honestly. Like it works surprisingly well. You know, I don't know if that's how it'll play out. We'll get that dark, but that actually does make sense. You know, you think of like all the red flags around this like pervert guy, you know, but it may not be that he's a pervert. It may just be that he's like this weird, you know, underground AF person, engineer person. I don't know.
Underground as fuck.
Yeah.
Very good. I like that. Yeah, but it might be even creepier if they try and imprint Juicy's memory or that kind of stuff onto Klara.
Oh,
Do you think they have a
Oh, yeah.
technology?
Who knows? She's
I
just a
mean-
vacuum cleaner after all.
That's true. Yeah, like that is an open question, right? About how the artificial friends are manufactured. Are they, you know, simply generative AI, or are they like made from human parts in some way, kind of like in the Wind Up Girl? The question I had was, I'm hearing an echo, but what
that's
was I
definitely
saying?
me. I'll be right back.
No problem. We were talking about memories, and I was trying to figure out. Never mind. Let's start another topic. I'll come back to it if I remember.
Wow.
One of the things I observed, like when Klara was allowed or was told to be in the room, when what's his name, Rick, comes over to visit with Josie, you know, and she turns her back and all that stuff, and she's looking out the window and she's trying to give them some semblance of privacy, and but I found it interesting because I thought it was just a you know, she says she couldn't help but being overhear what was being said, and she thought she shouldn't listen, but it was her duty to learn as much as possible about Josie, and that was, you know, a duty put forth. And I don't remember if it was a mandate of the AFs to learn as much as possible about their subjects, their owner, or their you know, well, the person they're supposed to be the best friend of, or if it was just something specifically that Klara was doing because she is, like as we've seen before, super observant and wants to just do the best she can. But either way, I thought it was a clever way for the writer, for Ishiguro, to put us in the room with you know, and maintain Clara's point of view throughout this whole thing without having to do it later with backstory, you know. And I thought that was you know, a nice little author's insertion there to try to put us in the room to keep that point of view fresh and happening in the now.
Yeah, that's a great point. I just sort of, it made sense to me as a reason, like something that you would arrive at for thinking about what you have to do. But yeah, I feel like that's a question that we have to keep revisiting with Klara. Is there something that she's programmed to do, or is she drawing this conclusion by herself for whatever she needs to solve? And yeah, in this case, I couldn't quite tell. It felt very Klara to think that, but maybe not. We don't know what part of her is Klara and what part of her is generalized base programming for
Right, yeah.
artificial friends.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about her sitting and looking out the window is that we're told that she's very observant, and she's not using her primary skill in that sense. So she's trying to make us, and because she's our narrator, we're only getting this sort of very rough sense of what's going on in the room. I mean, and again, she's very childish. She has no content. She doesn't know what hanky panky is, at all. And I love how Josie and Rick are very, honest and forthright about telling her what that is and whatever else to sort of give her some context. But we only get the idea of what's happening as a little bit, and then we get a little more when she observes the drawings, which again she can't make sense of. She doesn't really know what's happening there because she doesn't have the context for humanity.
Yeah, it's interesting to have an interpretation of something that, as a reader, we then again have to interpret on top of that. It's very cool how he's doing that.
And it was also interesting how ingrained this, I definitely think, is probably the programming of the idea of giving privacy is everything she does is prefixed by, oh, do I need to give privacy here? If there's more than one human in a room, it's like, I need to give privacy. I need to back out of the situation because they need privacy. And she only interacts when called upon. So, yes, that's a very controlled environment and behavior that she engages in. So, what did you think, Chris? Are you still liking the book? And Jared, I guess. Yeah.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It's such an interesting viewpoint. I have to say, it dipped a little bit for me because it feels more like Klara's projecting herself rather than just observing. At the moment, though, this kind of idea that she had about the barn and the sun and that kind of stuff, it feels. I'm sort of interested to see how that goes because it feels very obviously read as a reader as being a complete misnomer. But I can't also see how that will affect the likes of Josie, rather than it'll just have an effect on Klara. And Klara doesn't really seem to have much of a future without Josie, without the imprint of another person on top of her in some way. So, I mean that bit intrigues me, and this contract intrigues me. But I still think the strong parts are when she tries to observe human behavior. When she tries to make sense of it, and very classic sci-fi sense of Android sense of just trying to say, oh, why can I not understand? Why can I not link together? I did what everybody told me going to the falls, and now nobody's speaking to me. Like I don't understand that, or I don't understand why somebody would choose to be lonely. Something like that. Those are the most interesting, I think, philosophical kind of questions for me, and the things that I'm really enjoying. Some of the plot stuff is maybe it's sort of held in the balance now to see what happens next.
Are you saying, Chris, that it kind of lost a step for you because it seems like Klara's quest is like a fool's errand?
Yeah, pretty much that. Or it feels less interesting because we know or we think that it's a fool's errand. There obviously all things are possible in 2045. We are missing 20 years of developments there. We went from iPads to oblongs and the like. So we've got that. But yes, I remain for that to obviously come to fruition, but it sort of feels like it's going nowhere that little bit, whereas a lot of the other kind of her observation stuff's completely fascinating and how other people treat her.
You don't believe in the power of the sun?
Not a big fan.
gives me skin cancer, sunburns. Unbelievable.
I told you before we started recording that 70 degrees Fahrenheit was very hot for me, so that tells you about my relationship with the sun.
I mean, the sun did heal the beggar man, so,
I mean, again, that is an observation, again, was sort of misunderstanding from her point of view rather than necessarily what actually happened. So where this isn't a misunderstanding, this is her projecting that onto Josie, which maybe it plays a part.
If we're being honest here, like, critical readers will notice that it wasn't the sun that healed the beggar man, it was the dog. So, Dan, I expect better of you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't believe in power of a dog.
Right.
Yeah, so it's the opposite of a god. So it means it has very limited power, as opposite to a limited power. So
I don't know about that. It's like the Antichrist and Christ.
Yeah.
It's like, the Antichrist still has powers, even though it's the anti of Christ.
I guess.
Exactly.
Maybe dogs are just evil then. That's what the opposite is. I don't know.
Or maybe God is evil and dogs are all good and all seeing and all knowing.
Well, if God is evil by definition, then evil is good. So,
Well,
you know.
as the owner of a golden retriever, I can tell you for sure that dogs are not all knowing.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, they're pretty dumb.
You know, Klara's definitely smarter than golden retrievers, but she has golden retriever energy.
Mm.
She's
Yeah.
just always there, like quick to help, so sweet.
Yeah.
I love this little robot.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring up the quasi-religious nature of Clara's relationship with the son and everything
Yes.
like that. I think you guys just kind of tore that off.
Yeah.
But for her, it
But-
definitely is. I mean, again, it's
Yeah.
a cultural thing for her that she believes that the sun gives power, gives strength, gives
Yeah.
heals, and does all that kind of stuff. It's very much how early humans kind of thought, which I think makes it interesting in its own right.
But I like that part. You said it was her projecting, but it's her projection comes from previous experience,
Yes,
and it's not
that's fair.
just out of the blue. And I think I kind of like that aspect because it's showing us that this AI is learning storytelling on a level of humans, and storytelling is what brings us to religion. And so I think that her relationship and her with the son and how she's believing is a very fascinating topic in the book, and I want to see where it goes.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also like how it feels like it's, the way it echoes kind of classic mythology, where it is like this quest that
Mhm.
she's embarking on. And while certainly, there is the expectation that this cannot possibly succeed, at least not in the way that she is intending it to, she can't succeed, right? That I still find that like very interesting for kind of what it speaks to about the human condition. And on top of that, the tension underline it all. I mean, we have this. I went to film school, and one of the first things we were taught about storytelling was this metaphor that Alfred Hitchcock used to talk about a lot. To talk about the difference between mystery and suspense, and he said a mystery is you have two people, or a surprise and suspense, I think it was, and you have two people who sit down at dinner, and then suddenly they blow up because a bomb's gone off, and you're like, whoa, that's shocking. And then suspense is you see someone enter the diner, put a bomb onto the table, and then the two people come and sit down across from each other, and you're sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for that bomb to go off. That's suspense. And that's kind of how I feel about this, where I'm like, oh my God, Klara, don't do this. Like, I know this can only end poorly. Don't do this. And so I'm eagerly, like, it makes it a page turner, for me. I'm like, I can't wait to see that, and just the bomb under the table of Josie's sickness have me turning pages. And now we have the mystery of like the weird sister shit that like she may be alive. Like, what? And creepy photographer. Like this book has definitely gone at places I did not expect it to go to. We'll see if it all pays off in any way.
Yeah, I put a big question mark on that. The mother, Rick's mother, seeing what she thought was his sister. I was just like, what? Huh?
I mean, it obviously was a thing because it's a plot point that's been inserted into the story. Like, I think it is very possible that we get to the end of this, say Josie dies, Klara puts her in front of the sun, and sun does not heal Josie or save her, and therefore questioning her whole world order and that kind of stuff from her point of view. I think that's definitely a possibility. But at the moment, it feels a bit like, one of those kids' Disney movies. I'm going to save everybody by killing pollution, which is really just killing this one machine. So they go on a quest to take out this one machine, and therefore the world is saved, which is very kind of 9-year-old Disney film in some ways. It's the steps of how we get to do that, and there's definitely room for this to be done very well, because obviously there's a lot of craft in this that I It's better
Well,
than me. Let's put it that way.
my pitch would be, or my theory is that things are going to go dramatically wrong, but in a way that makes everything better in the end. You know,
Okay.
so obviously Klara isn't going to, like, I don't think she's going to succeed to destroy whatever the cooting machine is, you know, but she's going to cause problems. But it's going to create this whole dilemma, you know, dramatic scene that is ultimately going to bring, you know, people together maybe and heal some hearts. Unless this just gets really bleak and like Josie dies in the process or something, like just has a heart attack. I don't know.
Actually,
You know,
what if it's the pollution that's killing Josie? Eh?
that would be crazy if that actually is, and she like inadvertently like
Yeah.
saves Josie by getting rid of the
That
pollution. That would be
a cool
wild.
twist. Yeah, that would be.
I'm sure the pollution is more than just a single machine, though, unless you destroy
Right.
the whole industry or
Right.
something. I mean, there was some sort of, I don't know if it's a plot point, but there was something about, like the mother when she was talking about, she was like, look at that city or that factory over there. That's where her dad used to live and stuff like that. There is some suggestion of something going on with the economy or the industry. Some plot point about, I don't know, some society in the future where we don't need people to do work anymore or something like that. I don't know what that's about.
I thought
Right?
it was because of the artificial friends that there's enough automation now that human jobs have been taken away. I could have, I don't know, I
Maybe.
might have been
But he was an
projecting, but
engineer,
that
right?
was how I read it. Yeah,
I think. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know. Plus, we haven't
yeah.
seen, even in the city, we haven't seen other robots, have we?
We haven't seen
Only artificial friends.
artificial friend
Yeah.
robots. Yeah,
Interesting, isn't it?
that's true.
And
That
I
is
think
true. Yeah.
I think we said this last time, but also very few men.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm very curious if it's, I mean, it's hard to say before the end of this book, and I mean even by the end, but like whether or not the lack of men in the story is like deliberate, or if that was just like happened to be how the story played out as Kazuo Ishiguro wrote it. Either way, I think it has like it is an interesting thematic point, you know. I'm glad you noticed it, Chris, because that hadn't fully clicked for me until you mentioned it last episode.
The photographer's a man.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And
It was a creepy man.
and Rick is a man, and but he's a special case because he hasn't
He hasn't been
status.
uplifted. Yeah.
He's not uplifted. So
Plus, he's a child, right? So he's still, I don't know. I don't know if it's something like, the only man we have is like some weird, creepy guy, and then the boy, which is still not a man, is still nice. I don't know. Maybe it's some commentary on society or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
we'll see.
Could be.
Maybe
Men can only grow up to be creeps.
maybe the creepy man photographer is stealing her soul with all the photographs. Who knows?
Just stealing her
Photographs,
soul.
Yeah, that would fit other mythology.
Oh, another theory. Speaking of men, we're definitely going to meet the dad before the end of the story, and I do feel like this journey would be a good time for that to happen. Because he lives in the city, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So seems like a good opportunity. You know, we have to meet the dad. The dad can't just be off screen. Like you have to have like one really powerful scene with the dad where we show either how shitty he is or how like depressed he is or both. And
Or
you
maybe
know,
shut
like
out.
something's gonna happen there.
Maybe the
Right,
dad's
exactly.
Maybe the dad's the secret weapon.
That's the secret weapon.
Oh,
I love
maybe.
it.
Oh,
I wonder if maybe like the uplifting or something, maybe it's more risky for men. So more women have been uplifted. Maybe that's why we see more of them.
Yeah.
I wonder.
It's designed by women to fight against the
That's
patriarchy.
interesting.
That's an interesting idea. Yep.
It would be interesting how that, like, in the long term would potentially, impact gender roles if we did have this, like, upliftment that was much more effective with, like, you know, XX chromosome than it was XY. Like that definitely would shift society, I imagine, quite a lot. Although there would probably be a lot of havoc caused by that.
It's a really interesting premise for a sci-fi novel, though, isn't it? That they kind of create this kind of genetic program that has no side effects at all for women, has severe side effects for men, and actually how that would change society altogether. That's you get right in that shit.
Yeah. It is a cool premise.
Yeah.
I agree.
There is only one author here, Carl.
I'm jotting it down.
Yeah.
I have another book I'm working on right now. What do we think about? We've heard one theory about the sighting of the sister,
Mm.
and I guess the mom in general, the Rick's mom in general. What do we think of her? I personally thought that all that stuff was great,
Yes.
and I immediately loved her, and felt so bad, and could also tell, like, I understand why Rick is the way he is and feels the way he does about her. You know, it was beautifully written. Any thoughts, though? I'm curious.
Lots of incredible character insight with Rick in his interaction with his mother, yeah. and between the mother and Klara. It's just I thought that was it definitely gave Rick more agency than what we've seen before, and I
Yeah.
appreciated that fact, because Rick was very much a side character in the first couple parts. That he was a wish list for Josie. He was an achievement for her, a goal, and he wasn't fully there yet. And now this section made Rick a full character, full person, and we really got to see a different part of who he is beyond just the sphere of Josie. It was very good. I liked it.
Was it implied that the mom was an alcoholic, or was it an illness? I thought it was alcoholism, but then she sounded so coherent, because when he walked into the house, he was explaining why it smelled bad, and he said he spent all morning cleaning up, and I thought he was cleaning up her throw up. I mean, that's what I guessed, but
That's
and
clever.
that she's like sleeping, and I don't know. He seemed to be making excuses for her, like he's embarrassed but doesn't want to be, and
Mhm.
so I got the sense that maybe she's an alcoholic, but also like not that she's mourning something. So he has a lot of history too, like besides what we've already seen. That may or may not come out, but the dad is dead, right? He didn't leave. I think he died.
He died. He's gone. He was a good man apparently, and he
Mhm.
died. I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe that's who they're mourning. I'm not sure,
Mm.
but yeah, he did seem like he's the one taking care of the mother, and it didn't feel like an illness. It felt more like a problem she had.
Yeah, I think it's definitely because she's afraid to drive, so there's some kind of high anxiety going on, I think, with his mother. That's exactly.
I definitely just read it as like mental illness, like pretty severe mental illness, that then affects her. Like the cleaning up, I didn't think was like necessarily her vomiting. Although I mean, yeah, maybe there is like a more physical side effect, but more just like she doesn't clean up. You know, she's clearly forgetful. You know, I think it would be she lays around all day. You know, she is prone to strange behaviors. I you know, and she used to be an actress, and like, come on, like, I'm not to say, like, I was a theater kid, you know, but not to stereotype, but like a lot of actors are weird people, you know, not always the mentally healthiest, and so it wouldn't be crazy for one who like burned out to
That's
end
true.
up, you know, as a single mother. Maybe she's bipolar,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't seem like she's schizophrenic, but clearly there's something going wrong with her, right? And like Jared mentioned, right, she has anxiety around driving, which maybe it is ambiguous. So maybe it is an alcohol thing, or maybe that's part of it, and it's, you know, addiction often is connected to mental illness. but that's how I kind of read it. It was definitely kind of the it felt very gothic to me in a weird way,
Yeah,
like
I
this
get
like
that.
hidden away woman, like it was giving me Jane Eyre. Spoiler alert for Jane Eyre.
Could be many characters in Jane Eyre, to be fair. So
Yeah.
I think that whole the way he constructed the introduction of the mum from the bubble pictures game that they would play with each other, to them falling out, to kind of discussing things about the background of their family, that led the breakdown of the relationship, to her bring a letter over, another picture over, to kind of soften that relationship. We get insight into Rick and Josie's relationship, and actually that their plan is a bit more than just kids' thoughts and playing about. They actually have it's much more solid than that, and much more deeply ingrained. And then we get the introduction of Miss Helen. I think it's really interesting that Klara calls Rick's mum by her name. The other one's just mother. In it, I think there's a personification there that happens very quickly with her, and that she identifies with, and can talk to her in a way. Even though Miss Helen calls her a vacuum cleaner, like there's an understanding there and humanity much more than there is with the mother, which I think is I think those two people are very well contrasted to each other.
That's a
Other
great
people call them
observation.
Chrissy. But yes, that whole relationship was that whole conversation was fantastic, because it was also very human. Like, she's just a mum who wants the best for a kid, and can see that she's holding him back in a lot of ways, and doesn't want that for him, and will choose loneliness for herself, which was heartbreaking and very, very wholesome to read, I think, in a lot of ways, because it kind of shows, like, we're 20 years in the future, but there is an existence of society and community, and that kind of, family unit still there, even in a broken family like that.
She definitely like. Oh, please, Varsha, go ahead.
No, I was going to start a new topic. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, definitely. Well, yeah, this is definitely still this topic. So um, the mom, Rick's mom, definitely came across as much warmer. Like, even though she kind of seemed strange and, had her mysterious illness and whatnot, like, she was immediately much warmer. And there was that contrast with Josie's mother, right? It's a great observation, Chris, about how Klara thinks of them and refers to them. At the same time, I also found it very interesting how, we talked about gender and gender roles, and that Rick is this like caretaker. He is very protective of his mom, but he's also very nurturing. And Josie seems to, I mean, it's like explicitly a conflict in the book that like Josie is afraid he's going to choose his mom over her.
Yeah.
And that there's this like sort of like, the mom doesn't feel this way, but like Josie feels this like feminine conflict, insecurity. And at the same time, Rick has this, like, his relationship with Josie is weirdly similar to his relationship with his mom. You think about it, it's like they're sick in different ways, but these are both sick women that he feels like he has to take care of. And it feels very natural in that way, that he would go from like his mother, given her situation, to Josie with her situation. It feels like it would be almost harder to imagine him with someone who'd be like, say, more like Josie's mother, right? Like that just role that he seems to slot into. I don't know. It was an interesting parallel I noticed that I think is probably related to the insecurity Josie feels.
Bye,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
very cool.
Please go for it, Varsha. I'm sorry for dragging that back and everything.
oh, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. The parallel between the mom and Josie, and but it was interesting. I thought, given how Josie doesn't seem to think very well of the mother for whatever reason. Maybe she sees her as competition, like you guys said. Um, it I was almost expecting similar antagonism from the mother towards Josie, but it
Mhm.
wasn't there, and she was instead seeking help from Josie to convince the kid is like, I'll take help from anywhere. I don't. It doesn't need to be me. I guess she was trying to get, which was like slightly sad given what we know Josie thinks of her and how little respect she has for her. But yeah, that was it. But on the subject, I also wanted to bring up the conversation that Josie and Rick have about society. And Josie thinks that the mom needs to go out more because she doesn't have society, and she thinks that she's superior because her mom has society and the
Mm.
mom only has individual friends, and she thinks that's necessary and important. And also, I don't remember if we talked about this too much last time, but her change in behavior when the friends came, right? Like she's introduced to us as this really sweet kid who's very considerate of Klara, because like she wants to make sure that Klara wants to come with her before bringing her home. So she seems to be a very caring kid, but then she also immediately became mean when around company. Like she values a certain position in among the group of friends that I guess she thinks of as society. So it where was I going with this? Yeah, so she values that, and she's willing. And Rick and Klara both notice this about her, that she's willing to turn on the people that she loves so that she can fit in. And so, but I guess like she doesn't see the contradiction in that, the one or two individual friends that you can draw a lot more comfort from than you can from quote unquote society. That she doesn't value the thing that could bring her joy and wants to focus on the other thing, and also looks down upon other people for it. Which, for it to see that, to see a child engage in that thought process, I think was interesting. And yeah.
Absolutely. It was a really interesting observation about the capital S society, and definitely I think emphasizes how these characters crave a certain level of like social acceptance, and how that uh, informs everything they do, from uplifting the kids, right? Doing that because everyone's doing that, like that's what you do, even if it's dangerous potentially, to buying an artificial friend instead of supporting human relationships, which are all often very facile and,
Messy.
lacking depth and
Well,
messy. Yeah.
yeah, it's sort of like the cotillion ball kind of thing, isn't it? Where they are kind of brought out and put in that for show in the network, and to make connections and improve their life in that way, rather than have deep, meaningful friendships with each other. They're sort of looked down on. They are not worth anything. Yeah, it's a very interesting social construct that they have there, in terms of like what we have in thing today, where you would just protect children at all costs. If it was dangerous at all, you don't do it. That's where we are as a society now. And in this one, in trying to give an advantage to kids, they are taking on risks, which I think is interesting, because I think in that case, it's much more about the parent than it is about the child.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I feel this artificial friend idea is spot on, and is something we're going to get to at some point. It's coming. We're already seeing like AI girlfriends. I think maybe we talked about this. I feel like I probably brought this up last time, because it's just a concept that I find so strange. But it's like a thing, and I was talking a different version of this that's like less extreme. I was talking to a friend actually yesterday about like the idea of VTubers, which, if you don't know, are like people who have like anime avatars, and it seems like we're getting further and further disconnected from like that intimate human connection. And it seems very normal to me that the next step would be then hiring a robot to be your kid's friend. Now, I feel conflicted about this because I love Klara and I feel like she is as real and as rich as any human being. But also the idea of buying this perfect companion for your child feels so wrong to me. And it's hard for me to like square that circle. You know what I mean?
But I think that's the nature of good literature, and I hope he doesn't close it off in like a big point and just sort of lets it sit with the reader.
Yeah.
And a lot of those ideas, because it's about posing questions and posing about it. Because I do think that the feeling from early on is you've got to see Klara as worth, you know, in terms of life, you know, her existence is a worthy existence in a lot of ways, but it also does have then that darker side of then it's replacing other things within society and within relationships and all of that kind of stuff, because like Josie doesn't go to school in the same way all these kids are taught on a screen. You know, again, you can see totally that that's the way life is going in a lot of ways. You know, that human interaction is not being valued.
Yeah, well, I feel bad because I left my vacuum cleaner in the closet, so I want to bring it out.
Yeah.
Part of the conversation. No, you're spot on. It's an interesting conundrum to put all these feelings and all this emotion into a character. It's an AI robot. It's created by man, and it's it's just a higher technology, and where that's what we're rooting for here. And that's you got to come to grips with that.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Carl.
No, please, Varsha, please.
Yeah, I was going to say that this and a lot of other stories of this nature that we've read keep coming back to this question of when is it okay to treat something that looks and talks like a human as less than human, right? And I think the answer almost never is, even though the books don't explicitly come out and tell us, is never. I keep thinking about this conversation in one of Laviti Dar's books. I think it was in Martian Sands. There is a simulacrum, is that how you pronounce it? Let's fake person, a genetic clone, who they have and I think he explicitly has a conversation with this robot person and says, why should I give you respect? He says, she says, I passed the Turing test. So that means you can't distinguish whether I am human or not. And you have to treat me with the same amount of respect. And it's always baffling to me that the default is starting with treating as subhuman and then finding out otherwise, that we should be treating them better rather than the other way around. Like, what do we lose from giving them respect? Like, I mean, I guess you have to start considering whether it's okay to ask ChatGPT to be your friend against its will. But I mean, yeah, sure, it's more convenient not to, but that was the kind of thought process that leads to being okay with slavery, for instance. So sorry to make it dark, but that is exactly the difference that we have to try and avoid hard coding into our brain like every single time, right? It is a conversation that is necessary to have always. And I love how these grapple with those questions. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, just on your point, they also insert a very in-your-face passage with the housekeeper and her broken English. And again, sort of distinguishing hers as, again, something other than what fits in, and that almost her lack of English language skills are kind of hurting her within that capacity. Although they use that as to describe the creepy old man very effectively later on as well, which becomes very humorous, in some ways. We're in the same team, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
that's
an important point, because
great point.
But the housekeeper being on guard like that shows that she has a level of emotional and empathic connection to know that there's something wrong with the situation and something wrong with the guy, whereas Klara would never get there unless she was told it by somebody like that. And so she's begging Klara to watch and be on guard, because she wanted to go, the housekeeper. She's the one who wanted to watch and be on guard against this creepy photographer. And there's a level of awareness there that's not robot. That's a little bit beyond where the Klara AI technology is at. And that was an interesting place to put that in the book, to show that right there.
I mean, do we? I don't know. Like, I think maybe Klara would notice it, because like it's tough to say because we haven't seen it, but I think she has appeared to be very empathic to date, and like picks up on things that the human characters seem to miss and how they're interacting with each other. I mean, I particularly think like it's almost like that she has a level of both like emotional awareness, but also like there is a distance that she's able to better understand certain behaviors. And that's almost why she's confused by them. Is she's like, what, Josie and Mother, you love each other and you want to, be like help each other and be there for each other. So why are you being cold to one another and things like that? Like it doesn't make sense. It's not logical to her, but it's not as if she's not noticing the dynamic between them.
Yeah, she's very observant.
Well,
in a logical way, but not in other ways.
But she can't make sense of it. She can observe things very tightly, but she can't make sense of what that actually means in the way that the housekeeper can.
Right.
She's observing some behavior and has context and can reason it, whereas Klara will say something's wrong. That must be how humans behave, or men behave or something like that,
I guess part of my argument would be, isn't that learned? Don't we learn those things over time? Like kids don't start out knowing that someone is a child predator, like that's the whole point. We have to teach them to be careful of men in creepy vans.
That's
You
true.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I like it may just be that like, I mean, because Klara is learning. We're seeing her learn and like try to understand better. That's kind of what she's programmed to do, is to learn and to be the best AF for an individual child. And so I mean, I don't know. This gets back to the question of like, where do we, as Varsha, you poignantly pointed out, is like, where is that line? How do we define the difference? When are we reading too much into things and like
that too,
using our natural empathy versus when are we correctly identifying that this artificial being is at that level, and that's a murky area.
Yeah, because human emotion has also gone the wrong way too, and
right,
with too much has incorrectly identified things as well. So it's it's a tough contrast and decision. Yeah.
There is also the fact that Klara probably doesn't have a lot of agency at this point. So even if she observes and then concludes that something bad is happening, she may not feel like she is allowed to interfere. Or if she does and is told to back off, she would listen, right? Like she was told by Melania, for instance, to is that her name? Sorry, I might
Melania,
Melanie.
yeah.
sorry.
Melania, yeah.
Melania. Okay. So to make sure that there's no hanky panky, but the moment they kick her out of the room, she leaves for exactly the hanky panky that she was asked to stop. So, so I think, I mean, she may not end up listening to Melania, but I think in some ways she's being given permission to act in this instance.
How are we defining agency? Because I feel like she is capable of willfully making decisions because she does it early on in the book. If you remember that she screws up the manager's attempt to sell her to another child because she was specifically waiting for Josie, and like she acts of her own volition. And so to me, she seems to be based, like, obviously her programming is what it is, and she is has social pressure too, but like again, this is the murky area. Like I would argue human beings have the same thing. And it's like, how do we define free will? I mean, some of us have read R. Scott Baker, right? Where the entire argument is that we don't have free will because everything that's come before us in our genetic programming essentially directs us. And it's the illusion of free will is what we have, right? And
that's the question.
I just think it's tough, right? It's the question.
What's
the
difference between genetic programming and human programming?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think what I mean is, like, sure, she's done things on her own without being told to, or without maybe being programmed to. Like, she went to pray to the sun at that little hut place. But what I mean is, I
another
think
one.
if speaking, like, stopping other humans, right? Like, I may have misused the word agency, but what I mean is, she may not. We haven't seen her stop humans do anything. And I don't know if she feels like she has the permission to, or she would be heard if she does. And she might go through with it, but like when humans give her commands, she listens. And she might sneak around, but she doesn't speak back to them. At least we haven't seen her do that yet.
She does act against them, though. I mean, like I agree with you in that she doesn't, like, she won't physically stop anyone or like actively. It's just the sale early on to me was like very illuminating in terms of what she's capable of, because she was actively going against her orders and what she knew she was supposed to do. And the complicated way through that is you could argue that she was trying to get to the more perfect child, the better sale, to be the, get to go to her core programming. But I think you're bringing up a really interesting point, which is like, are these robots encoded with like Asimov's laws?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Have you all read
Yeah,
Isaac
yeah.
Asimov? And so that is something I hadn't even considered, is like she may physically not be capable of like hurting a human being, which would make sense. Can you consider she's a child's companion? We would want that to be like the baseline, but
Yeah. That's an interesting question, because that hasn't really come up, because it's all Klara's point of view. That wouldn't come up, so it hasn't come up, unless it's going to be brought up at some point, where she's going to tell us, I can't hurt this person, I can't stop this person, because we haven't got there yet. So interesting question. Yeah.
And that's also interesting, because I wonder how it would manifest. Like, would it be something that she wants to do and feels like there is a barrier to doing it, or would that thought not even cross her mind, right? Like, what would that programming look like? Yeah, that is an interesting point.
It also, as we're talking about it, it occurs to me, like, ethically, you would think, actually, if you have this robot companion for a child, obviously you don't want them to hurt the child, but if someone is trying to hurt the child, you would want the robot companion to be able to help them. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like, that's almost self-sabotaging in a way, and is an interesting wrinkle in that whole law.
Yep.
Yeah, it's almost like the Aes Sedai oaths, right? I wonder if there are any stories in which like robots sort of Aes Sedai like work around the three laws. Like, they still get what they want, but they obey the letter of the law.
I think Asimov, I haven't read all his robot stuff, but I think he goes into that a little bit. I'm pretty sure he like establishes the laws, and like I've read the first iRobot, or is that the robot one? I don't know, but there is when they like start rebelling. That's iRobot, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if that's iRobot. Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I read it back in high school. But anyway, yeah, there have to be workarounds. Well, and that's also the question of like, is that the ability to go against your programming, quote unquote? Is that how we define free will? Like, is that even possible? What does that look like, right? Like Jared was saying, the difference between like genetic programming and what we ourselves do with, coding. What do you do when you're mixing that up? I mean, I forget who said it, but like, what is Klara made of? Is she mostly metal? Like, does she have human tissue? We don't know, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. All interesting questions.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the scene with the drawings between? I mean, I guess we talked around it quite a bit, like the events that transpired from it, but what about the scene itself? That was so tension filled. It was brilliant. I was like, for a scene about how two kids are just like drawing things and adding quotes to it, man, like I was on the edge of my seat.
But it is also how they talk about serious stuff, about big issues, because they can't do it out loud. They can't do it head on, but they're using this kind of little game to get to what they really want to talk about or communicate with each other, which is why she draws their pictures, wanting him to just write whatever comes into his head, but he's taking his time to think about it because it matters to him what he puts down in that. I knows that's the code that they're using and the key that they're using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what Ishiguro's background is, but I think that would be a brilliant therapeutic game to have two people do with each other. If one could draw, you have one draw and have one fill in the word bubbles. I thought that was a brilliant exercise, and I thought it was very clever.
So true. Amazing.
Yeah. If I ever play that game, all the other person's getting a stick figure. Maybe not even good ones.
Absolutely. This just reminds me of a little thing I wanted to talk about, and I say it's little. It's actually like huge in terms of his craft and how it permeates basically every page of the book. But I just don't have a lot to like say other than to acknowledge that he does it. But how good he is at, with one small scene, establishing so much about characters, and how like it doesn't take him, over and over, This isn't a long book, and yet I feel like I know so much about these characters, and we're not in their heads, most of them, and there's a lot of mystery around them, and yet it just blows my mind how much he does in a small scene, and it's just such a testament to his craft as a writer. He knows what it takes. He knows how to show, who people are.
A talented writer, that's for sure. Because again, this I can't remember the last book I read that was as quick reading as Klara and the Sun either. For as much, and to be quick reading and for you not to miss things really. Like, I'm sure that there are nuances that you'll miss, but in general, you get a very good sense of what's going on here. You get a very good handle on what he's trying to say in the story, and it's not like it's pulp. It's definitely not pulp either in the way the other quick reading books can be. It's very interesting as a piece of fiction.
Yeah, we'll see if he sticks to landing.
Yeah.
That's my only question at this point is like, what is it gonna? I know Klara's gonna get put away. Like that's inevitable. She's gonna be locked away from the sun. That's like in the first pages. I was like, oh god, that's what he's setting up, and it's gonna. I just don't know if it's gonna be because Josie dies or Josie outgrows her, and then she's like an outdated model.
It's nice, happy thoughts, sir.
I know. I'm sorry. Sorry not to be a bummer, but the sun sets.
Yeah. Ah, man. Looking forward to getting there though, for the same reasons,
Oh my gosh, yes. What are we
I want
reading?
to devour the rest in one sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we reading the rest of it?
We are finished. Going to finish. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Praise the sun.
Praise the adjunct.
Yeah.
Praise the adjunct.
And
Yeah.
actually, Chris paid the schedules.
I
We get to
didn't.
finish it. We got. Oh, I forgot to mention the short story that we're going to be discussing today. I knew I forgot something. But
Yes.
900 grandmothers.
Oh, that's right. The one with the amazing title.
Yes.
R.A. Lafferty.
R.A. Lafferty.
R.A. Lafferty. Are we ready to move on? Sorry, I just remembered
Well,
because I didn't talk
there's
about what we're going to read
one
next.
thing that I want to discuss, which is the bit at the end when she cries, wakes up calling for her mother.
Mm.
And I thought that was it was a scene shrouded in mystery, I think, in multiple ways, because it shows the limitations of the relationship with Klara. Like, at a certain point, that child still needs a parent, and she's not calling for Melania, she's not calling for Klara, she's calling for her mother, and you kind of see the extent with which and how quickly the mother can actually soothe her and get her to sleep. Now, again, the question for me is: did she do it naturally, or did something else happen there, or I'm not quite sure.
Talk about dark.
Yeah.
I also love that scene. I mean, what a great way to end it. There was a level of mystery of like, is she having an attack of some sort, or is this just like an emotional meltdown? I mean, obviously that's what it leads to, right? To some degree, you have the heartbreaking moment where she finally is like, I don't want to die, which is always just the worst thing to hear a child say, to hear anyone say, but it's especially painful hearing a child say it. And it was just, that killed me.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, a great springboard on to finishing the book.
That was a wonderful way to end a section. So to move you on to the next one. Yeah, beautiful.
Any other thoughts about that scene? Tarsha, you have the best theories. What's your theory?
Nothing about that scene. I just thought she was so sick and tired that she called for her mom. Like, despite all the bad blood between them, and like that, it felt a bit heartwarming in the sense that she, like the punishing was like the note that we ended the previous section on, for instance, when she's like, nope, you're too sick to come along, you have to stay behind. And like she's like this, after seeing her do some really grown-up things and honestly being a really shitty kid to Rick, to see her want her mom, I think it was kind of cute and heartwarming. Yeah,
that's something I just very briefly do want to touch on, is that I love how complex and flawed Josie is. Like, it would be so easy to just like try to make her like really sweet and nice and pitiful, and she is, like, you pity her because she is chronically ill. And of course, a chronically ill child, let alone one who's like, what is she, 13, which is already an unpleasant age. Like, yeah, she sucks sometimes. She does things that you're like, come on, really? Like, you're just being mean. Really? But of course she does. And I really appreciate that. It makes me actually like her more because she feels so real.
Absolutely. And again, I think she's a really good contrast with Klara, who is childlike in her own ways, but Josie also has a lack of context for an awful lot of her observations, like the thing about society. It's the symptom of how she's grown up, and especially in a world where kids are very much sharing their parents' worldviews very much more closely than they are even in today's society. So yeah, interesting.
Yep, great book all around. I am very happy for the permission to devour the rest of it. Maybe tonight if I get back home in time. Yeah, are we ready to talk about the 900 grandmothers?
The 900 grannies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Who has the summary?
I'll go for it. Guy becomes special agent, special aspect man. He keeps his own name, and he wants to find out about another race. So he asks about them, and it turns out that they don't die; they're immortal. And so he is fascinated by the idea that there are hundreds and hundreds of ancestors that going back in time living in this one house. So he goes into the house to find the oldest person so he can find out about the origins of time or things happened at the very, very start. And he keeps on asking people, are you the oldest person here? And they say, no, keep on going further back. As they go further back, they get smaller and smaller. And the end ends in very classic sci-fi of it's the classic what's in the box thing. He works out what's in the box to a certain degree, or he just laughs, and then he decides to change his name at the end of it. Curtain draws down. Yeah.
After categorically refusing to in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it goes against this whole thing, but yeah.
I love the names. He was given by Manbreaker Crag.
Yeah.
What a Blastberg, a George Blood. Just like those are great.
Yeah. It was a fun story.
It was fun, yeah. It was a neat story. It was I like the this was another story. We ran across this before in one of these short stories where the expedition or the troop or the explorers, what have you, they felt they had thrust upon them a culture expert, the guy who's the artist or something like that, he's not the regular, tough guy who gets to be part of the most of the mission, logistics. He's just there for in case they have to have somebody who needs to interact in a cultural way with whatever aliens they run across or what have you. And that's a common theme we've seen in some of the other stories too. And I found it interesting, and that's part of the reason why he, of course, refuses to be called anything else than his actual name. And but he's the contrast in here is that the military guy, the sergeant or whatever he was, Manbreaker Crag or whoever he was like, yeah, they're immortal. Let's get their secret, get their blood, and figure it out. And and he's like, no, I want to know the origins of life, and I want to know, I want to know the knowledge that they have from being around since the beginning of time. How did they begin? And of course, it's all good sci-fi questions, like how does things begin? How does why don't they end? And what happens to them after being alive so long? And as we go along, it's amusing as hell that the more he finds out, the sillier it gets. To almost tell us, the author's almost telling us, this is really a silly question. Go out and live your life,
Yeah, well, it's like the more he delves, the actual more questions it generates for him, to the point that he gets so frustrated that he could just kill them and stomp them and do them, but that's not who he is at the end, which I thought was quite interesting end. But I did get to the end and go, this has either been a story I've read too much or something. There wasn't really an awful lot new in it in the ending, but I liked the whole setup going up to it. Like I thought it was interesting, and the whole idea of there being these people that are basically living in the stone. They were not even living in the house anymore. It was just
What did you make of the fact that the beginning apparently was a joke, that their existence is supposedly a vast cosmic joke? How far? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's the very thing that they talk about the ritual and the fact that whenever they need to remember what happened or where it all came from, they just wake up one of the elders and they tell them and they go, right, and let them go back to sleep. But then it turns out that the elders don't tell them anything. They just kind of make up their own mind about it and just let them get on with it, which is like, okay.
Yeah. We remember the beginning of time, but we're not going to tell you because it's too funny. It's so funny. We can't tell it. It reminds me of the conclusion of one of the sci-fi series that I read. I won't say which one for spoiler reasons, but Thank you for the inconvenience. Sorry for the inconvenience, not thank you. But that never mind. Yeah, that whoever knows what I'm talking about, that's what it
I know.
reminds me
Yeah.
of.
But yeah, and it's funny that the last one he talked to didn't want to tell him because he was like, "Oh, I can't have you die laughing. I don't want to
Yeah.
have that on my conscience." And I was like,
You're immortal, you will die. I can tell my own descendants because they are immortal. They might shrink a little bit more.
yeah,
Cool.
it was
Yeah.
amusing.
Yeah, it was a funny story. I really liked the idea of the dolls becoming smaller and smaller and like becoming microscopic sized practically.
Yeah.
Kind of like, the I guess a nod to human origins from, what was it, amoeba or whatever other microbe we're supposed to have originated from. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was.
Anything
I was
else?
a fan.
Yeah,
Not
same.
much else to it. Yeah.
I was a fan too.
We've got up next. We have an old friend.
Yes, Frederick Bowl with Day Million. We read one book, just Gateway, right?
Gateway, yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think we have another coming up by Frederick Bowl in the SF Masterwork series
Okay.
in the next few months. But meanwhile, we'll entertain ourselves with a short story. Gateway was good, so this should be fun. And the rest of Klara and the Sun, we get to finish this thing. And if you're following along with us, if you're reading along with us, the next book that we're going to be working our way through is going to be Reamdy by Neil Stevenson, which does not have chapters. So breaking that up into 100-page groups is going to be fun. But yeah, that's what we'll be reading after Klara and the Sun. If you'd like to join us for that, either here or on the Page Chewing forum, consider checking that out. And also consider checking out the forum for any of the 10 other read-alongs we have going on there right now. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.